From a conversation over the Burt and Yarwood back fence came the idea to form a cricket club representing the parish of St Cecilia's. In the summer of 1967, this group of local parishioners formed a team in the Eastern Suburban Cricket Association under the name STC South Camberwell. By the end of this first season, we had made the B grade semi-final. 12 months later, we were the champions of A grade. Over 50 years, STC has earned universal respect with a magnificent history built on friendships as much as premierships. We have become more than just a sporting club. We are a family.
The reason I came down to STC was it was the local parish cricket club. So it was started by all the guys that were at church on the Sunday. I was at the school. It was just a natural progression.
I'm pretty sure that Steve played first, but Bernie Doc spoke to Mum and Dad, so pretty sure he's the one who got the O'Connell boys down to the cricket club.
I just followed my brothers down, simple as that.
My brothers just followed me down.
Dad was involved in the first year in 1967, so that's how I came down there.
My father started the club, so there was Dad, next door neighbour, my cousin, my brother, and a lot of blokes who I knew through St Cecilia's, so there really wasn't any alternative. It was the place to go.
Well, I was from St Cecilia's, so basically obviously affiliated with STC, so it probably made pretty good sense to actually go there.
Well, Pete was already playing, and I remember bugging Pete to try and come down and play. I was only 7, and Pete said, no, you're too young. And then the next day I found out Steve O'Connell was down there, and he was in my class, so I cracked him, and I rocked up to training the next week.
Probably the primitive conditions we played under, despite being only 10 k's from the city. We had no power, no hot water, so for the first probably 4 years anyway, we used to run an extension lead across from the house across the creek just to boil up the urn for afternoon tea. There was no showers, no hot water, no canteen.
Oh well, the STC started with nothing, but they've stuck together. It was a really good, wonderful group of boys. They all came from the church.
My dad was playing against Wilson Park. Well, they actually didn't play the first game. It was there at Wilson Park. That was our first match, I think, at Wilson. I think we went out for about 42 and 60 something. I think we lost outright.
When I played against Zed, Schwatter and a few of the others, they were playing for the Fives at that time, and I was playing a couple of filling games for the East Melbourne RSL, so I turned up for my first game for the RSL, and Zed and Schwatter were there, and I probably owe Zed a beer for dropping me in. I think I made a ton that day, so thank you very much, Zed.
During match reports where Michael Mitchell was giving a match report, and he paused match reports to make the entire group give me a round of applause as I walked in.
My earliest memory is Baz Finnegan yelling at me to stop playing across the line. Sorry Baz, but it hasn't worked.
The earliest memory of STC would have to be when Baz first said bang to me.
Early days when Baz was taking training and doing throwdowns with him. He used to take over your side, do a throwdown, and he'd, right now Steve, hook this! Throw the ball, be outside off stump, be up to the side trying to hook the bloody ball every Tuesday night. That's my probably earliest memory.
Yeah, mine would probably be not even playing cricket, probably mucking around down in the creek.
Earliest memories: barren grounds, no grass, tin shed, hessian mats. It was tough back then.
It was my first game, and for some reason, I don't know why or how, but I impressed Dickie at training, and he thought he'd select me in the twos in my first game, and it was quite an important game for the twos. They were playing, I think it was first and second playing each other, and I got an over fairly early, and I found out you can't bowl short on Nettleton Park. So I went for about 20 off my first over, and Dickie never bowled me again.
I can remember John Aspinall slinging them down at, I think it might have been Box Hill North, and just wondering how anybody could possibly play the ball at that pace.
I remember bowling to little old Tony Michaelides, And here I was, this 16-year-old with a bit of an ego, and bowling to this 55-year-old man who could barely move, and he's just cutting me for 4 after 4 after 4. And again, it was driving me insane.
Coming down to Nettleton, Baz was the captain. The late, great Dan Murray was playing, and Josie and I actually won the game. We had to make 9 runs with the last wicket, and we were able to do that. I've got the first bat here as well. So this is the bat that I used in my first game. I've hung on to it because I thought the club might want to have it at some stage.
Probably Bernie Doherty, my under-12 coach.
I'd probably have to begrudgingly give the honour to Bernard Doherty, who was a junior coach when I first started playing cricket. Basil was a huge influence on me, but Bernard Doherty was the one that probably had the biggest influence.
In terms of the mindset, in terms of the psychology of the game, the way that you attack it, the way that you can win the battle of the mind on the cricket field. Yeah, Tom Bach, 100% the biggest influence in my career, yeah.
Probably Lukey. When he first brought me down, it used to always really piss me off that he was so much better than me. And now I've sort of come to accept that I've still got my hair.
Alan Burt had a wonderful respect for the spirit of the game, and I think I learned from that.
Would be probably Basil. Baz always respected what he had to say, and even when I lost it a few times in a grand final and that, Baz is probably the only one that I probably listened to.
Kev Burt was important, and Baz taught me how to be ruthless in bowling and batting. Sweeper taught me how to bowl, but I'm not sure if that's a good thing or bad thing. Sorry, Sweep.
Back then it was probably people like Baz and Al Yarwood, and Pete Sandy, Greg Wignall, Fitzy, those sorts of guys.
A bloke called John Aspinall, who'd come to the club, who'd been with Collingwood, and his brother-in-law, Johnny Martin, who'd played at a good level, I'm not sure where. And the two of those were bowlers, but the two of those basically just said, come up to the stumps. And that was to the quickie. So they were getting me up on the stumps from about overs 6, 7, 8, somewhere like that, when the real zip had gone out of the ball, but it was still pretty sharp.
I typically work on a Saturday morning. I arrive at the game late. STC are about 4 or 5 for nothing. I go in, I make a typical 14 or 15 go out, and then I'll sit down and listen to the races and have a few bets for the rest of the afternoon.
Running around everywhere for the club, and hoping like hell we'll get called off.
Manage a junior cricket team, muck around doing that, rush to the seniors in the afternoon, and blame the juniors for me being late to the seniors.
And then cracking it when I'm given a fine for being 2 minutes late.
Standard Saturday was hopping in the car with fellow teammates, talking death in, getting to the ground, talking and death in, and then driving back to the club rooms, talking and death in about what happened during the day. That's about it.
One of the things that would be different today was there was no Facebook or anything like that, so we had to wait for people to walk down the path to hear what happened, so we used to get big crowds back at the club.
When I was chairman of selectors, it used to start with a phone call, typically from the captain of the 4s or the 5s, or even the 6s, telling me that 3 of their players had pulled out, and then I'd spend the next 4 hours trying to call past players and convince somebody that they should play cricket.
It usually starts with physio these days, I guess.
The standard Saturday now for me is 7:30 down at the club. I'm been the last 4 years a junior coach, so that's been 7:30 to 12 umpiring 50 overs and hopefully encouraging the next generation of young STC players.
Going down dressed in your whites, because we didn't have second-rate facilities down at Nettleton then. We had third-rate facilities. They were abysmal. We had an old tin shed, and it wasn't even the size of a garage. So you went down there dressed in your whites, and at the end of the day's play,
you'd hop in your car and you'd either go back to the Malvern Vale or you'd go to Matthew Flinders for a drink after the game.